forests with fays and giants, and its stream with beauteous and benignant sprites. Windsor, or Windleshore, so called from the winding banks of the river flowing past it, was the abode of the ancient Saxon monarchs, and a legend is related by William of Malmesbury of a woodman named Wulwyn, who, being stricken with blindness and having visited 87 churches and vainly implored the tutelary saints for relief, was at last restored to sight by the touch of Edward the Confessor, who further enhanced the boon by making him keeper of his palace at Windsor. But though this story may be doubted, it is certain that the pious king above mentioned granted Windsor to the abbot and monks of St. Peter at Westminster. For the hope of eternal reward, the remission of his sins, the sins of his father, mother, and all his ancestors, and to the praise of Almighty God as a perpetual endowment and inheritance. But the royal donation did not long remain in the hands of the priesthood. Struck by the extreme beauty of the spot, for that it seemed exceeding profitable and commodious, because situate so near the Thames, the wood fit for game, and many other particulars lying there, meet and necessary for kings, yea, a place very convenient for his reception. William the Conqueror prevailed upon Abbot Edwin to accept in exchange for it Wakenjune and Ferengers in Essex, together with 3 other tenements in Colchester, and having obtained possession of the coveted hill, he forthwith began to erect a castle upon it, occupying a space of about half a hide of land. Around it he formed large parks to enable him to pursue his favourite pastime of hunting, and he enacted and enforced severe laws for the preservation of the game. As devoted to the chase as his father, William Rufus frequently hunted in the forests of Windsor, and solemnised some of the festivals of the church in the castle. In the succeeding reign, namely that of Henry I, the castle was entirely rebuilt and greatly enlarged, assuming somewhat of the character of a palatial residence, having before been little more than a strong hunting seat. The structure then erected in all probability occupied the same site her son as a hostage for her husband, but instead of complying with the injunction, she rashly returned for answer that she would not entrust her child to the person who could slay his own nephew, upon which the ruthless king seized her and her son, and enclosing them in a recess in the wall of the castle, built them up within it. Sorely pressed by the barons in 1215, John sought refuge within the castle, and in the same year signed the two charters, Magna Carta and Carta de Foresta, at Runnymede, a plan between Windsor and Staines. A curious account of his frantic demeanour after divesting himself of so much power, and extending so greatly the liberties of the subject, is given by Holinshed. Having acted so far contrary to his mind, the king was right sorrowful in heart, cursed his mother that bare him, and the hour in which he was born, wishing that he had received death by violence of sword or knife instead of natural nourishment. He whetted his teeth, and did bite now on one staff, now on another, as he walked, and oft brake the same in pieces when he had done, and with such disordered behaviour and furious gestures he uttered his grief, that the nobleman very well perceived the inclination of his inward affection concerning these things before the breaking up of the council, and therefore sore lamented the state of the realm, guessing what would follow of his impatience and displeasant taking of the matter. The faithless king made an attempt to regain his lost power, and war breaking out afresh in the following year, a numerous army under the command of William de Nivernois besieged the castle, which was stoutly defended by Inglehard de Aki and 60 knights. The barons, however, learning that John was marching through Norfolk and Suffolk and ravaging the country, hastily raised the siege and advanced to meet him, but he avoided them, marched to Stamford and Lincoln, and from thence towards Wales. On his return from this expedition he was seized with the distemper of which he died. Henry III was an ardent encourager of architecture, and his reign marks the second great epoch in the annals of the castle. In 1223, 800 marks were paid to Engelhard de Signy, constable of the castle, John the Draper and William the Clerk of Windsor, masters of the works, and others for repairs and works within the castle. The latter, it is conjectured, referring to the erection of a new great hall within the lower ward, there being already a hall of small dimensions in the upper court. The windows of the new building were filled with painted glass, and at the upper end, upon a raised dais, was a gilt throne, grassy space between it and the royal apartments. The chapel, as appears from an order to Walter de Grey, Archbishop of York, had a Galilee and a cloister, a lofty wooden roof covered with lead, and a stone turret in front holding 3 or 4 bells. Withinside it was made to appear like stonework with good ceiling and painting, and it contained 4 gilded images. This structure is supposed to have been in existence under the designation of the Old College Church in the latter part of the reign of Henry VII, by whom it was pulled down to make way for the tomb house. Traces of its architecture have been discovered by diligent antiquarian research in the south ambulatory of the Dean's Cloister, and in the door behind the altar of St. George's Chapel, the latter of which is conceived to have formed the principal entrance to the older structure, and has been described as exhibiting one of the most beautiful specimens which time and innovation have respected of the elaborate ornamental work of the period. In 1241, Henry commenced operations upon the outworks of the castle, and the 3 towers on the western side of the lower ward, now known as the Curfew, the Garter, and the Salisbury Towers, were erected by him. He also continued the Wands along the south side of Lower Ward, traces of the architecture of the period being discoverable in the inner walls of the houses of the Arms Knights, as far as the tower now bearing his name. From thence it is concluded that the ramparts ran along the east side of the upper ward to a tower occupying the site of the Wickham or Winchester Tower. The 3 towers at the west end of the lower ward, though much dilapidated, present unquestionable features of the architecture of the 13th century. The lower story of the Curfew Tower, which has been but little altered, consists of a large vaulted chamber, 22 feet wide, with walls of nearly 13 feet in thickness, and having arched recesses terminated by loopholes. The walls are covered with the inscriptions of prisoners who have been confined within it. The Garter Tower, though in a most ruinous condition, exhibits high architectural beauty in its moulded arches and corbelled passages. The Salisbury Tower retains only externally, and on the side towards the town, its original aspect. The remains of a 4th tower are discernible in the Governor of the Arms Knights Tower, and Henry III's Tower, as before observed, completes what remains of the original chain of fortifications. On the 24th of November, 1244, Henry issued a writ enjoining the clerks of the works at Windsor to work day and night to wainscot the high chamber upon the wall of the castle near our chapel in the Upper Bailey, so that it may be ready and properly wainscoted on Friday next, the 24th occurring on a Tuesday. Only 2 days were allowed for the task. When we come there, with boards radiated and coloured, so that nothing be found reprehensible in that wainscot, and also to make at each gable of the said chamber 1 glass window on the outside of the inner window of each gable, so that when the inner window shall be closed, the glass windows may be seen outside. The following year the works were suspended, but they were afterwards resumed and continued with few interruptions. The keep was now constructed, outside the walls. A barbican was erected, to which a portcullis was subsequently attached. The bridges were defended by strong iron chains. The old chambers in the upper ward were renovated. A conduit and lavatory were added, and a fountain was constructed in the garden. In this reign, in all probability, the Norman Tower, which now forms the gateway between the middle and the upper ward, was erected. This tower was used as a prison lodging during the civil wars of Charles I's time, and many noble and gallant captives have left mementos of their loyalty and ill fate upon its walls. In 1260, Henry received a visit at Windsor from his daughter Margaret and her husband Alexander III, King of Scotland. The Queen gave birth to a daughter during her stay at the castle. In 1264, during the contest between Henry and the barons, the valiant Prince Edward, his son, returning from a successful expedition into Wales, surprised the citizens of London, and carrying off their military chest, in which was much treasure, retired to Windsor Castle and strongly garrisoned it. The Queen Eleanor, his mother, would fain have joined him there, but she was driven back by the citizens of London Bridge and compelled to take sanctuary in the palace of the Bishop of London at St. Paul's. Compelled at length to surrender the castle to the barons and to depart from it with his consort, Eleanor of Castile, the brave prince soon afterwards recovered it, but was again forced to deliver it up to Simon de Montfort, Earl of Leicester, who appointed Geoffrey de Langale governor. But though frequently wrested from him at this period, Windsor Castle was never long out of Henry's possession, and in 1265 the chief citizens of London were imprisoned till they had paid the heavy fine imposed upon them for their adherence to Simon de Montfort, who had been just before slain at the Battle of Evesham. During this reign, a terrific storm of wind and thunder occurred, which tore up several great trees in the park, shook the castle, and blew down a part of the building in which the Queen and her family were lodged, but happily without doing them injury. 4 of the children of Edward I, who was blessed with numerous offspring, were born at Windsor, and as he frequently resided at the castle, the town began to increase in importance and consideration. By a charter granted in 1276, it was treated a free borough, and various privileges were conferred on its inhabitants. Stowe tells us that in 1295, on the last day of February, there suddenly arose such a fire in the castle of Windsor that many offices were therewith consumed, and many godly images made to beautify the buildings defaced and deformed. Edward II and his beautiful but perfidious Queen Isabella of France made Windsor Castle their frequent abode, and here, on the 13th day of November, 1312, at 40 minutes past 5 in the morning, was born a prince document showing how the most noble order of the Garter was instituted. Strongly attached to the place of his birth, Edward III, by his letters patent, dated from Westminster in the 22nd year of his reign, new-founded the ancient chapel established by Henry I and dedicated to the Virgin, St. George of Cappadocia and St. Edward the Confessor, ordaining that to the high 8 canons appointed by his predecessor there should be added 1 custos, 15 more canons, and 24 alms knights, the whole to be maintained out of the revenues with which the chapel was to be endowed. The institution was confirmed by Pope Clement VI by a bull issued at Avignon the 13th of November, 1351. In 1349, before the foundations of the college had been confirmed, as above related, Edward instituted the Order of the Garter. The origin of this illustrious order has been much disputed. By some writers it has been ascribed to Richard Coeur de Lion, who is said to have girded a leathern band round the legs of his bravest knights in Palestine. By others it has been asserted that it arose from the word Garter, having been used as a watchword by Edward at the Battle of Crecy. Others again have stoutly maintained that its ring-like form bore mysterious reference to the Round Table, but the popular legend, to which, despite the doubts thrown upon it, credence still attaches, declares its origin to be as follows. Joan, Countess of Salisbury, a beautiful dame of whom Edward was enamoured, while dancing at a high festival, accidentally slipped her garter of blue embroidered velvet. It was picked up by her royal partner, who, noticing the significant looks of the courtiers on the occasion, used the words to them, which afterwards became the motto of the order, Honi soit qui mal y pense, adding that, in a short time, they should see that Garter advanced to so high honour and estimation as to account themselves happy to wear it. But whatever may have originated the order, it unquestionably owes its establishment to motives of policy. Wise as valiant, and bent upon prosecuting his claim to the crown of France, Edward, as a means of accomplishing his object, resolved to collect beneath his standard the best knights in Europe, and to lend colour to the design. He gave forth that he intended a restoration of King Arthur's Round Table, and accordingly commenced constructing within the castle a large circular building of 200 feet in diameter, in which he placed a round table. On the completion of the work, he issued proclamations throughout England, Scotland, France, Burgundy, Flanders, Brabant, and the Empire, inviting all knights desirous of approving their valour to a solemn feast and jousts to be held within the castle of Windsor on St. George's Day, 1345. The scheme was completely successful. The flower of the chivalry of Europe, excepting that of Philip VI of France, who, seeing through the design, interdicted the attendance of his knights, were present at the tournament, which was graced by Edward and his chief nobles, together with his queen and 300 of her fairest dames, adorned with all imaginable gallantry. At this chivalrous convocation, the institution of the Order of the Garter was arranged, but before its final establishment, Edward assembled his principal barons insignia of the order marched bareheaded in solemn procession to the chapel of St. George, then recently rebuilt, where Mass was performed by William Eddington, Bishop of Winchester, after which they partook of a magnificent banquet. The festivities were continued for several days. At the jousts held on this occasion, David, King of Scotland, the Lord Charles of Blois, and Ralph, Earl of Eu and Guisnes, and Constable of France, to whom the chief prize of the day was adjudged, with others, then prisoners, attended. The harness of the King of Scotland, embroidered with a pale of red velvet, and beneath it a red rose, was provided at Edward's own charge. This suit of armour was, until a few years back, preserved in the Round Tower, where the royal prisoner was confined. Edward's device was a white swan, gorged all with the daring and inviting motto, "Hey Bay, the white swan, by God's soul, and I am thy man." The insignia of the order in the days of its founder were the garter, mantle, surcoat and hood, the George and collar being added by Henry VIII. The mantle, as before intimated, was originally of fine blue woolen cloth, but velvet, lined with taffeta, was substituted by Henry VI, the left shoulder being adorned with the arms of St. George, embroidered within a garter. Little is known of the materials of which the early garter was composed, but it is supposed to have been adorned with gold, and fastened with a buckle of the same metal. The modern garter is of blue velvet, bordered with gold wire, and embroidered with the motto, Honey, Wit, Key, Malibence. It is worn on the left leg, a little below the knee. The most magnificent garter that ever graced a sovereign was that presented to Charles I by Gustavus Adolphus, King of Sweden, each letter in the motto of which was composed of diamonds. The collar is formed of pieces of gold, fashioned like garters, with a blue enamelled ground. The letters of the motto are in gold, with a rose enamelled red in the centre of each garter. From the collar hangs the George, an ornament enriched with precious stones, and displaying the figure of the saint encountering the dragon. The officers of the order are the prelate, represented by the Bishop of Winchester, the Chancellor by the Bishop of Oxford, the Registrar, Dean, Garter King at Arms, and the Usher of the Black Rod. Among the foreign potentates who have been invested with the order are 8 Emperors of Germany, 2 of Russia, 5 Kings of France, 3 of Spain, 1 of Aragon, 7 of Portugal, 1 of Poland, 2 of Sweden, 6 of Denmark, 2 of Naples, 1 of Sicily and Jerusalem, 1 of Bohemia, 2 of Scotland, 7 princes of Orange, and many of the most illustrious personages of different ages in Europe. Truly hath the learned Selden written, that the order of the Garter hath not only precedency of antiquity before the eldest rank of honour of that kind anywhere established, but it exceeds in majesty, honour, and fame all chivalrous orders in the world. Well also hath glorious Dryden, in the Flower and the Leaf, sung the praises of the illustrious institution. Behold an order yet of newer date, doubling their number, equal in their state. Our England's ornament, the crown's defence, in battle brave, protectors of the prince. former splendid doings by a tournament which he gave in honour of his royal prisoner. Proclamation having been made as before, and letters of safe conduct issued, the nobles and knighthood of Almaine, Gascogne, Scotland, and other countries flocked to attend it. The Queen of Scotland, Edward's sister, was present at the jousts, and it is said that John, commenting upon the splendour of the spectacle, shrewdly observed that he never saw or knew such royal shows and feastings without some after-reckoning. The same monarch replied to his kingly captor, who sought to rouse him from dejection, on another occasion, Quomodo, cantabimus, canticum in terra aliena, that his works might not be retarded for want of hands. Edward, in the 24th year of his reign, appointed John to Sponley, master of the stone-hewers, with a power not only to take and keep, as well within the liberties as without, as many masons and other artificers as were necessary, and to convey them to Windsor, but to arrest and imprison such as should disobey or refuse, with a command to all sheriffs, mayors, bailiffs, etc., to assist him. These powers were fully acted upon at a later period, when some of the workmen, having left their employment, were thrown into Newgate, while the place of others who had been carried off by a pestilence then raging in the castle was supplied by impressment. In 1356, William of Wickham was constituted superintendent of the works, with the same powers as John de Sponley, and his appointment marks an important era in the annals of the castle. Originally secretary to Edward III, this remarkable man became Bishop of Winchester and prelate of the Garter. When he solicited the bishopric, it is said that Edward told him that he was neither a priest nor a scholar, to which he replied that he would soon be the one, and in regard to the other, he would make more scholars than all the bishops of England ever did. He made good his word by founding the collegiate school in Winchester and erecting New College at Oxford. When the Winchester Tower was finished, he caused the words Hoc Fecit Wickham to be carved upon it, and the king, offended at his presumption, Wickham turned away his displeasure by declaring that the inscription meant that the castle had made him, and not that he had made the castle. It is a curious coincidence that this tower, after a lapse of 4 centuries and a half, shall become the residence of an architect possessing the genius of Wickham, and who, like him, had rebuilt the kingly edifice. That was by Sir Geoffrey Wyatville. William of Wickham retired from office, loaded with honours in 1362, and was succeeded by William de Mulso. He was interred in the cathedral at Winchester. His arms were argent, 2 chevrons, sable between 3 roses, golds with the motto, Manners maketh man. In 1359, Holinshed relates that the king set workmen in hand to take down much old buildings belonging to the castle, and caused divers other fine and sumptuous works to be set up and about the same castle, so that almost all the masons and carpenters that were of any account in the land were sent for and employed about the same works. The old buildings here referred to were probably the remains of the palace and the keep of Henry I in the Middle Ward. As the original chapel dedicated to question of its style, says Mr. Poynter, from whose valuable account of the castle much information has been derived, there is the evidence of two fragments discovered near this site, a corbel and a piscina, ornamented with foliage strongly characteristic of the decorated English Gothic, and indicating by the remains of colour on their surfaces that they belonged to an edifice adorned in the polychromatic style, so elaborately developed in the chapel already built by Edward III of Westminster. The Royal Lodgings, St. George's Hall, the buildings on the east and north sides of the upper ward, the Round Tower, the Canons' houses in the lower ward, and the whole circumference of the castle, exclusive of the towers erected in Henry III's reign, were now built. Among the earlier works in Edward's reign is the Dean's Cloister. The square of the upper ward, added by this monarch, occupied a space of 420 feet, and encroached somewhat upon the middle ward. Externally, the walls presented a grim, regular appearance, broken only by the buttresses and offering no other apertures than the narrow loopholes and gateways. Some traces of the architecture of the period may still be discerned in the archway and macculis of the principal gateway, adjoining the Round Tower. The basement chamber of the Devil Tower, or Edward III's Tower, and in the range of groined and four-centred vaulting, extending along the north side of the upper quadrangle, from the kitchen gateway to King John's Tower. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I am going to pop in my Anne Boleyn bookmark, and we'll revisit this lovely little book in another video. I hope you enjoyed that. This has